All right, check the mic. Recapping the Senior Bowl, Sam. That's right, we're sitting next to each other. We got to do it. You got to do it. No perspective to save you here.
No.
But your thoughts so far? Your first Senior Bowl, Sam?
It is my first Senior Bowl. First time coming down here. PFF has been coming down here for years. You've made it several times. It's the first time I've made it, though. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's a lot like the combine, right? Only with practice reps as opposed to drills, right?
Yeah.
Just random drills on air, 40 times, all that kind of thing. You're actually seeing one-on-one reps. You're seeing live 7-on-7 stuff. We're about to get nailed by footballs from the kickers, particularly because we're not sitting between the posts.
It's for the content. Yeah, so the kick game. Yeah, the kick game has not been great here this year. There's been a lot of errant kicks. And so full disclosure right now, we're in between practices. Yeah. Day 3 in between practices. The kickers are out here getting ready for day 3's practice, and I don't feel safe.
Well, I genuinely think in the 3 days of practice so far, I have seen one kick go between the posts.
Yeah, not a year to draft a kicker. It's never a year to draft a kicker, but especially this year.
I would say we're sitting, 10, 15 yards to the left of the post?
Yeah.
So that's a hazardous spot, given what we've seen so far this year.
I'm just going to keep an eye out. They're doing drills right now. For the content, it'll be great to catch
Here's
the football.
Thing, though. If we get hit, that's kind of okay. You can't let the camera/phone get hit.
I will jump and catch the camera.
I'm going to need you to dive in front of the ball
the camera
if it's coming that way.
If needed.
Anyway.
So, good experience for you so far?
Yeah, I think it's been good. It's been an interesting week. It's been fun seeing these guys live. I mean, it's kind of the way we've done things this year. It's almost my first exposure to any of the draft stuff, right? So I came in fresh, got your laminated roster from you. First exposure of who the hell any of these players are. So it's been kind of fun just seeing who stands out from an all-star perspective.
Yeah, just from you have no biases coming in. You have no preconceived notions on everybody to start the draft process, which is great.
Right.
The other thing, we have field access. It is tough to take everything in, right? Because you have a lot of O-line, D-line, one-on-ones. That's what my eyes were certainly drawn to this week. We've talked about that a bunch. So you miss some of the wide receiver one-on-ones. We do have to go back, watch the film on some of it. But there's definitely certain players whose names you're going to hear, whether you're listening to Check the Mic or anyone else, certain names that are going to keep coming up. So let's go through some of the players that have had a great week here.
I think it probably has to start with Gray Zabel, right? North Dakota State offensive lineman. They've been lining him up everywhere. He's been playing guard, center, both guard spots. So, 3 different positions along the interior. Day 1 of practice, the dude was just an absolute dominant force, probably the standout player on either team. And when you're a guy like that, the big question then becomes, well, can you do it again? Can you do it the second day in a row? Can you do it the third day? And okay, today he lost a couple of reps, but generally speaking, he's got to go down as maybe the standout player of the entire week.
Yeah, and as we've said before, those one-on-ones are made for D-line to win, right? They're not worried about keeping the QB in the pocket, and they're not worried about gap control. There's a few times the offense was getting mad because the defense was, coming in wide alignments. They were going around the guard when they're going up against the center. So everything's in the favor of the defense. And the fact that,
as well, for guys that are playing multiple positions or new positions, trying out places they haven't played before, like they are already disadvantaged, plus all that stuff.
Yeah, so you have all that going against them. And the fact that Zabel was able to hold up in pass protection against some of those guys was really impressive. The other center that we've mentioned a couple times, Willie Lampin.
Yeah.
He was a late add here, but a big favorite of scouts who just love football players. The measurables make no sense.
Short king.
He's 5'11", 270.
No. So, number one, listed 5'11", measured 5'10", right? Yeah. 270, but with a 6'6" wingspan.
Yeah.
So this tiny short guy. And by tiny short, I mean, my height, who weighs 270, is going up against 360-pound defensive lineman, but has a 6'6" wingspan, so it can actually function. Like, he can still actually, reach these guys and not be completely overwhelmed from a size point of view.
So he had a nice week, and he's going up against guys like Deon Walker, who's 6'7", 340 plus, and it has the length advantage, has all the advantages, and he's holding his own as a center conversion. A lot of people like Willie Lampin as a center, maybe a move tight end, H-back type of gimmicky type player as well, but he's had a really nice week. The other guys we got to shout out here that left, right? So some of the drama here is players who come in for a day or two and leave. Last year at this time, Quinyon Mitchell came in, had a few press reps, showed that he could play press after coming out of Toledo, and then just, he's like, I'm done. He stayed.
Yeah.
He dressed out, but he didn't play after day 1 or 2 last year. This year it was Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Could be this year's Trayvon Walker, Sam. Everybody loves how much we talk about Trayvon. Shamar Stewart's got the 6'6", 280 plus frame and athleticism. Sick reps yesterday. Mike Green had the bull rush, heard round the world yesterday on Josh Connerly of Oregon. Both of those guys got some good reps in on day 2 and took off.
Yeah, and the Mike Green thing is interesting because he's, a small school guy. So another guy whose sort of mission was to show that he could do it at this level, all-star competition, going up against, legit Power 5 competition. And he does that. He does it in emphatic fashion with one of those highlight reel reps. But it's one rep, right? But it's like that was such a highlight that you're able to put that on tape, and then you're like, I feel like I proved my point. I can leave now and just packs it up.
Yeah, so that was a couple guys doing that. It makes it difficult putting the whole game together. Receiver-wise, I know you found one of your favorite receivers in the draft already in Jalen Milroe from Utah State.
I think he's looked like the best receiver here all the way through the week. I mean, he's one of those guys that just makes it look easy. And, there are other receivers we'll talk about maybe in a minute, and you can sort of see why they're able to win, why they're able to have success, why they're able to gain separation. He's one of those guys when you sort of look, it's just, he makes these subtle little moves. You're like, I don't even know what he did there to completely sucker the corner, to then be able to run right by him and be wide the hell open. But it works, and it's repeatable. He's able to do it time after time. I thought he's looked fantastic, and he looks well put together as well. He's built, strong, powerful. I think he's going to be pretty impressive.
Royals has a smoothness to his game that reminded me a little bit of Amari Cooper watching him at Utah State. Nothing happened here to dissuade that. I mean, I thought he looked really good. I liked both Iowa State guys. Jaden Higgins, I liked coming in 6'4", and he's moved better in and out of his routes, I think, than we even saw on film. Very productive. And then Jalen, Noel, where we are back and forth. I'm waiting for the beast to drop to get the official pronunciation. But Jalen's a completely different type of player because he's got incredible burst and acceleration, top end speed, but he gets in and out of his breaks really well. We talk a lot about that in the scouting process. It's tough for fast guys sometimes to break down, get in and out of breaks. I think Noel done a great job with that.
I'm going to go with Noel so far.
Let's go with Noel.
Our friend John Schmilk from the New York Giants, he interviewed him and he called him Noel to his face, and he wasn't correct.
So we're just full transparency here. We got to say we don't know.
I mean, at that point, you open the door, whether or not it's pronounced that way, right? You had a chance to correct it if that was wrong, and you didn't. So you're going to have to live with Noel for the moment. I really liked him as well. He looked really impressive. Then we got to talk about Tez Johnson.
Tez has been good, yeah.
Wide receiver. What is he, 5'9"? Is that where we are officially? 155. And, okay, look, you're going to get Tank Dell comparisons. The big thing for him is to show up, right, and prove, okay, at that size, does all the other stuff work? And his quickness and ability to get separation has been impressive. Again, Schmilk was telling me that he talked to Tez Johnson and had barely gotten out the question with a reference to Tank Dell.
Yeah.
And was told by Tez that Tez had sought out Tank Dell and said, look, I know I'm like you, I'm a tiny wide receiver, you just did this, let's talk, right? And sort of actively sought out input from Tank, and they're kind of buddies now, and it's part of the process. So,
I mean, Tank's opened the door for him, right? Because you can't completely pigeonhole him into a gimmick player. Tank has the ability to be a vertical receiver, get in and out of breaks at all levels, and Tez has a similar skill set.
But a big difference between the two in terms of their college careers is I think you had a lot more evidence of Tank in terms of a full wide receiver role in college, whereas Tez was deployed a lot more like a gimmick receiver. So a week like this is pretty important for him to run real routes, right? To be a legitimate NFL type wide receiver and show that he can do that, not just the gimmick stuff.
The other guy I wanted to shout out in the offensive line, Anthony Belton from NC State. Yeah, he had interesting tape where he got better and better in pass protection through the years. He's looked really good here. I think the tackle class is kind of wide open and not as top heavy as it was last year. So a week like this for Belton, from what I've seen first watch, want to go back, watch the film, make sure that it's backed up rep for rep, but I think he's had a really good week. And tackle class, again, kind of open. I think Belton's made himself some money here this week.
Another guy I would shout out is Miami tight end Arroyo. He's looked spectacular. He's been winning one-on-ones. He's been looking athletic. One of my favorite reps he had, though, was in the end zone, the red zone stuff that we were looking at. You know, they ran your favorite play, right? Sprint right option, where there's a flood out to that side, nobody's open. You know, I think it was Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback, looking to find someone, and Arroyo's the guy that goes, puts his foot in the ground, puts the brakes on, halts, goes the opposite direction to the flow, and is suddenly wide open in the end zone. Gabriel finds him, touchdown. Such a smart adjustment in these kinds of things where it's not necessarily, you know, coached, like it's somebody's supposed to be open, you got to find the guy, and instead Arroyo goes, no, I'm going to make the adjustment, I'm going to be the guy that uncovers,
we got a doink.
the guy that gets the touchdown.
We had a doink here, by the way.
Official doink.
But yeah, there was a really nice job by Arroyo after really dominating the one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Anything else that stands out to you? Because I do want to wrap it up. We haven't talked quarterbacks yet, so I want to at least discuss the QB class and what's happening here.
Do it. Let's go.
All right, so it's not a great quarterback class.
Right.
And I just want to say that this week, my past experience is it's tough for a quarterback to stand out where you're just like dime here, dime there. That doesn't really happen. But what happens is a lot of QBs struggle, and the guy who like just hits the check down and just hits the throw in the flat generally stands out. So there's not anybody who stands out positively. The big news this week, I think, was Jalen Milroe's hand size being under 9. We do need a picture of you with the football, by the way. So it's a weak quarterback class. It's probably a weak group of Senior Bowl quarterbacks, and there's not going to be a ton of buzz, I don't think, for anybody coming out of this.
I will say, the Milroe thing is fascinating to me. Like, I have small hands for somebody that's 5'11", 180, right? And my hands are small enough that I just assume, I never actually put the measurement, you know, the pinky to thumb, and I just sort of assume that if Kenny Pickett or whatever and Jared Goff, those guys are at 9, I'm probably at like 7 or whatever, right? But we actually measured it. I can't remember if it was 8.5 or 8.75, but it's in that ballpark, right? Milroe was 8.75, so I'm either exactly the same hand size as Milroe or a quarter of an inch smaller. And I'm, again, 5'11", 180, officially, by the way. There are people that can verify this in the Senior Bowl, even though it doesn't look like it's sitting next to this guy. But that means that a guy who's, 6'2", what did he measure at officially? But a big dude, a big guy has the exact same or minutely larger hands than me. And why that's important is I can't grip an NFL football and fire a ball 30 yards on a rope. It will flutter. It will come out of my hands and it will sail. And I don't know if we're just now, it's
can't really compare
bias.
You to a real thrower like for like, but I get what you're saying.
But the point is, right, I don't know if it's confirmation bias, but when you're watching Milroe practice now, you can see some throws where it looks like that happened, right? The ball came out of his hand and just sailed a little bit. Yeah. Whereas a guy with, Russell Wilson hands, 10+ inch hands, that will never happen to him. Never. So, it's interesting to me because the 9 thing has always been like an arbitrary cutoff. Look, does it show up on tape? But this is the first time where it's like, I have hands that small and I can't make those throws sometimes.
And with Milroe, it does show up on tape.
Yeah.
It shows up with the inconsistency. It showed up a little bit here. And then I would be scared to trust him in Cleveland in a weather situation. Exactly. And I think that's real,
Seriously.
Last thing I just wanted to say here is don't get suckered in by the misinformation that is miles per hour numbers that are being thrown out here, especially when it comes to throwing. We had Dylan Gabriel throw an alleged 74-mile-an-hour pass the other day. That is apples to oranges compared to a radar gun reading. That's a chip in the ball reading. Because I saw the tweet going around that hey, the fastest combine speed was 62 and he just threw it 74. So just don't get suckered in by that. It's apples to oranges. We don't even know what those readings mean. Either way, it just meant, hey, Dylan Gabriel may have thrown the fastest throw the other day, which was impressive for the little lefty, Dylan Gabriel.
Compare them within the same data set.
Yes.
Compare Dylan Gabriel to the other players here.
That's all we have.
That are all throwing in the 70s, not to the fastest time ever recorded at the combine, which is in the 60s. Just a little bit of basic thought. Ask yourself what's more likely, that the scales are slightly different or that Gabriel and everybody else here is throwing 12 miles an hour faster than has ever been recorded in the combine.
And we know our listeners will do that. So yeah, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate everybody who came and said hello. We ran into a lot of people here that are Check the Mic listeners and viewers. So we appreciate all you guys. And that's it for us from the Senior Bowl. Check the Mic. We're out. We'll be back here off to the Super Bowl next week.